Eu inicialmente ia fazer este vídeo em português porque pensava que a maioria dos espectadores deste vídeo eram lusófonos. I recorded this, so now we got the map. This was my second video, by the way, that I ever made, and this was actually my song. My first 2 or 3 videos I did for YouTube, I actually produced my own music. But they had people from Turkey, from India, I don't know, from different places. Then they file a claim with YouTube saying that you're using their music, and then you have to fight it, and it's a big hassle. And if you don't fight it, it's going back and forth for a month. I won all the time because it was my stuff, and I could prove it. But the hassle. So after that, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna use whatever YouTube uses, and I'm gonna stop producing my own music. Anyway, so this was during COVID. That's why I was able to go on a Sunday, and there was nobody there. So, and I remember I really had to force myself to come to this. So that's the background of Plateau. I think I really got lucky, and at the time I didn't know how lucky I was to do it, because I really forced myself. I was just bored. I usually had company, had friends over, but that weekend I didn't have friends over, so I was really bored. Anyway, that's the Portuguese coat of arms in the cannon. So that's the story behind this. Now about Plateau. Most people don't know, but Plateau is, well, people know this. Let me backtrack. Most people don't know is that Ribeira Grande, is that it? Where they have the fort, Fortaleza, I forget the name, where they call now Cidade Velha. That was the original capital in Cape Verde. And it was only later on that Praia or Plateau actually became the capital. Which, let's get down. Quartel Gemimota. Quartel is like, I don't even know how to. My Portuguese is not that good. I know very good basic Portuguese. Quartel, I don't know how to. Anyway, that's a Portuguese tank from the 1960s and 70s. Anyway, so Plateau. Let's talk about. It was the village of Santa Maria Beach. And in 1615, it was the beginning of the settlement of Plateau, which situated what they called then the beach Santa Maria, which, as you could see, not in this clip right now, but you saw before, it gave good conditions for ships to go to. And it was initially a clandestine port, essentially, basically to escape payment of custom duties to the capital, which was Ribeira Grande, Cidade Velha. And then it gradually got bigger, and Ribeira Grande, or Cidade Velha, as you guys call it now, in Cape Verde, grew less in significance. So the official handover of the capital title of Cape Verde was in 770. And finally, 1858 was given the status of a city. Praia was definitely the capital of Cape Verde at that point. So, the plateau, which is surrounded by like castle-like walls, was considered, only that part was considered the part of the city. The surrounding little villages, which now are neighborhoods of Praia, were not considered part of Praia. Something that I wish I had gotten. This is the presidential, like the white version, the white version, the version of the White House. It's where the president stays of Cape Verde. I couldn't take shots because there's guards there and they start, complaining or asking to delete stuff. So I was like, nah, let me not. I ain't got time for that. So it's got a square over there. I was surprised that there wasn't more sidewalks like they have in Portugal or Brazil, in Praia. The ones that are like in Portugal are the ones here in Plateau, as you see, with the little... I don't even know what kind of sound this is. I gotta ask. I should know, right? But anyway, here's one interesting fact that most people don't know. Now, you may disagree with me, but if you do your due diligence and you research your history, you will find that Cape Verde was... Well, first off, in my opinion, Cape Verde, just like Madeira and Azores, are not true colonies because they were not. It was not stolen land. It was uninhabited. The first people to inhabit Cape Verde were the Portuguese, which now assimilated with Africans, and now you got a beautiful culture called Cape Verdean culture and Cape Verdeans. So, but Portugal never really treated Cape Verde as a colony. I'm going to give you examples as to why. I don't even. It's not even my conclusion. It's just a fact. One, outside of Portuguese citizens within the Portugal and the European continent, only the Azores, people from the Azores, people from Madeira Island, and Cape Verde were given 1, passports, 2, free public education, 3, free healthcare. That didn't happen with all the other colonies, and that is why you see a lot of Cape Verdeans in the U.S. You want to see a lot of... I've never met anybody from Guinea-Bissau in the U.S. I met one Mozambican. I've never met an Angolan. I'm sure there are, but very few. I've searched. All former colonies, Portuguese African colonies combined, don't have as many Cape Verdeans. Why? Because they didn't have passports to leave. So, just on those facts alone, plus, Cape Verde was the only... It was treated like Madeira and the Azores when there were the colonial wars and finally ended after the dictatorship ended in the 70s. It was Madeira, once again, Azores, and Cape Verde. They were asked, do you want to belong to Portugal or do you want your independence? And from my research, without getting into details, through a misunderstanding, Cape Verde did not choose the path that Madeira and Azores. It almost became like Madeira and Azores. So yeah, that's the spiel. Now over here, this is the main center of commerce. I would say probably in all of Cape Verde. You see a lot of shops here. You do a lot of shopping here. You see a lot of Chinese stores where they are granted, just like in Portugal, 10 years without paying taxes, which I think is ridiculous. So what they end up doing, just like they do in Portugal, the Chinese, they close the shop after 10 years. They have it closed for 6 months and then redo the paperwork, and they come with their brother or somebody in their family, and they reopen it and redo the process for another 10 years. So essentially, they don't pay taxes on it's crazy. And meanwhile, the nationals got to pay taxes, and this is all the bright idea from Portugal, and Cape Verde adopted this silly idea. So yeah, but you do find really cheap products. I mean, they're cheap, but really affordable prices. But I still have a problem with that. They should pay their fair share. How can nationals from any country compete with somebody who's not paying taxes? They don't grant other people those kind of privileges in China. But anyway, this has a lot of history right here. This market, and you could tell that it was like a center of commerce when Praia was smaller. That's where everybody would go, and it was built. You could tell it's got a few generations in there. It's nice how they have everything cut. I would see people being hired by the city to cut these trees to keep it like that, and it was nice. Also, during the winter or during the holiday season, you see a lot of lighting. Just like in Portugal. This reminds me a lot like stuff that like in Portugal. Just to be honest with you, you got Cafe Portugal right there, Cafe Portugal. But I do think that they should not allow any old buildings, any old buildings to be just taken down. No way, absolutely not, and not make buildings like this green one right here that looks like a hot mess. Even if it's only a one-story building like that pink one right there, keep at least the facade. Build whatever you want to build. If you want to make 10-story building or whatever the city decides to do, but keep the old, preserve at least the facade of the buildings. Keep the history. For a long time, I would see beautiful buildings being torn down in Lisbon, and I'd be like, what a sham. This government, it's so disorganized. It's all about money. You buy politicians, then they finally stopped that, thankfully. And now you got foreigners doing that. They buy the old run-down buildings with nice architecture. Like, this looks like it's pretty old. Like it's got some history. And now the foreigners, they go with money. They have to keep the facade of the building in Lisbon now. Thankfully, they got to that point. And they should adopt that most definitely here in Praia. Because I saw, the buildings weren't nice looking or anything. It looked like that pink one, that small pink one. But still, it's still part of the history. That's how people lived back in the day. So that's my take on it. And it, especially a building that's only one that only has one floor, or it only has 2 floors. Then that should be super easy to keep the facade. That's not a lot to ask for. Anyway, so this was afterwards. This was the following day, and you see everybody with masks. And I just put it in hyperlapse. Yeah, so now you see, but even... And by the way, getting to the market during COVID, man, you had to have a mask, otherwise you couldn't enter. There was always somebody there selling. Actually, I think the guards would sell it themselves and make money. So that's the courthouse, Palacio da Justica, Palace of Justice. That's the main church in Plateau. That's me, in case you didn't catch that. And now we're back to the presidential suite, or the White House version of Cape Verde. Let's call it the Yellow House. That's Cape Verdean flag, and this is see, you got a beautiful beach there, which Praia has not taken advantage of. They should definitely put some good sand over there and make some hotels right there, right here below. But now they're building some stuff. I don't want to get into that. They're ruining the little beach that's left in Praia. So this supposedly is the guy that Diogo Gomes, I think, who allegedly discovered Cape Verde. That is the little insight about the Praia, Plateau, history of the video, history of Praia and Plateau, Cape Verde, a little bit of Cape Verde, not because Cape Verde has a lot more history than that. Give it a like. By the way, you should check me out on TikTok because I have way more followers there than I have here on TikTok. I'm much bigger on TikTok than here. So you should check me out. So with that said, folks, if you disagree with what I said, anything about the history, go right ahead. Leave it in the comment section. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to say is going back to Cape Verde being treated not so much as a colony but as an autonomous region, just like Madeira and the Azores. Most Cape Verdeans were sent for administrative duties, high government position duties in other African Portuguese speaking countries like Angola, Mozambique, especially in Guinea-Bissau and São Tomé and Príncipe. The Portuguese government would send the Cape Verdeans. So there was a bit of a rapport or a trust or a treatment as if they were true Portuguese, so to speak. And I'm going to leave you with one other thing. If you're from Cape Verde, ponche, the drink ponche, is also done in Madeira. The only difference is in Madeira they do it with freshly squeezed juice, otherwise it's not called ponche. But yeah, so there's a lot of similarities between all the Macaronesia islands, Portuguese islands. There's the Canary Islands also, but they're Spanish. The other ones, all the other islands of Macaronesia, they're Portuguese speaking countries, Portuguese speaking islands, Azores, Madeira, and Cape Verde. I have to give a shout out to Joaquim Ramos Praia. Thank you. You gave me a $1.99 gift. Thank you gift on YouTube. Till this day, you are the only person that has ever thanked me. And with that said, folks, give it a like.